Welcome to the More Alive podcast.
You're supervising Ella. She's on the production team.
Dylan Crowder, professional interviewer extraordinaire. Welcome to the More Alive podcast.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be here. It's an honor and a privilege, and something I thought I'd never get to have. Mom, are you listening? Just have to shout out my mom. She's a really big fan.
She says, "Go get tissue paper. I already know how this is gonna go." Literally, go grab us a whole roll of toilet paper.
You really
like,
you're
not
already
kidding.
tearing up.
I'm already tearing up. My mascara is about to go down. I should have never put it on. Day late and $1 short. I mean, this feels iconic. So.
Don't put anything in Brand that has
No labels. Yes, coach.
I guess I'll reverse it back on you. Andrea Crowder, CEO of the More Alive movement.
We can call it whatever we want.
Wait, okay.
More Alive brand.
More Alive
also
brand.
a movement.
Yeah. How does that feel? This is for the More Alive podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. That is why we're here.
I prepped before this, I promise you. It's the stage. Okay. Well, More Alive. How did you settle on the name More Alive? Where did that come from?
Okay. So what happened was, this last summer, August 2024, we relaunched WAP, Wealth Alignment Patterns, which is our program that sells itself. Like, just we've never had an issue selling it. We've always had like banger launches on it. And the first 3 days of the launch, it was like we were drowning in silence, like no sales, no questions, no nothing coming in. And I was like just writing about this, and I'm like, I don't mean to sound like a snob, but that doesn't happen to me anymore. And it, like, the reality of it is that it didn't. And so I was like, this is strange enough for me to get curious.
Mm-hmm.
And I just took a long pause to figure out like what the hell is going on. And at the very last second, one of my clients was speaking in Phoenix, Catherine Zankina. She was going to be on stage.
I was going to say name drop.
Yeah, I sure fucking will. Shout out to Catherine. She was speaking on stage, and she was telling me about how she was about to have her son's birthday and doing this like event. And she was just like sharing in gratitude that a moment of her being interviewed. She wanted to manifest more interviews because that's like her zone of genius. And she's like, I did it. Another interview. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I come? Like, I looked at my calendar. I'd always wanted to be. It was at the Powerhouse Women event hosted by Lindsay Schwartz, who's a friend. And I was like, I've always wanted to go support Lindsay, be at the event. And also, I don't know what I'm doing. So I kind of have some spare time right now because nothing's working. Like, it was like my whole business halted. And I went to the event, and while I was in the audience, said download happened. I don't remember why, where, what. I just remember like hearing the words More Alive, knowing that that's something that I've just repeated a lot, not realizing that was the direction of the brand, and listening to the women on stage. It was just being in the energy of creativity and innovation, and being in a group full of like-minded women. I positioned myself energetically to just be in like the creative zone, and just tons of downloads started coming through. I texted the whole team, and I was like, oh my God, we're rebranding. Pivot.
Pivot.
And yeah.
So being curious is like what led you to discovering that you wanted to rebrand to More Alive. Is that what More Alive is based on? Like, is that the core value of More Alive?
Well, every decision that we make is, like, simply put, does it make you feel more alive or less alive?
Mm-hmm.
And so since it's the foundation of every decision that moves us forward in our life within our brand, and the thing that is the most fundamental, pivotal thing that I teach anyone, from someone who's never made a penny to online to somebody who's already made 8 figures, one single thought shift has been such a game changer for our community, and it's everything that my legacy rests on. And yeah, so that it made sense once I wrote the words. I'm like, oh. And the consensus that I got, and also like Tony, our psychic, said to me, she's like, it had to happen. Like your business had to come to a halt for a little bit because you needed to ask what's going on. You needed to pause and start asking questions, because otherwise I was like, I had so much momentum. I was like moving that I wasn't, I guess I hadn't gotten the memo. Maybe the memo had been like, maybe like I had been sent like snail mail and I wasn't checking the mail per the usual.
Yeah, or we're like that point in life where you're literally like, I don't see it. And then your whatever spirit guides are literally like, move your fucking hands out of the way.
Exactly.
You have to like,
Exactly.
what would you say? Because I feel like if, you know, we just entered this new year, you just thought of this new rebrand, what would you say are like, from 2024, what were some of the things that feel like most alive to you? What are like, what were the things that made you feel really alive this year?
In 2024 or right now?
I'm this year. Last year, I guess I'm still in 2024.
It's January. It's fine. Everyone.
Yeah. It's gonna be February. And
We're all
like,
very
what?
confused.
People would be like, last year, I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2024. I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is I fell in love.
Ooh. Sorry, guys. In case there's someone listening who literally doesn't know, this is my mother, and I'm happy that she's in love, but I'm also like, don't kiss in front of me, don't tell me anything.
You're grossed out by it still, as you should be.
Literally anything. Oh my God, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I'm grateful. I love Keith. I'm really grateful that he loves you in the way that he does, Like, I gave him that big hug the other day, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I don't know how long
that was last week.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And
5 days
what
ago.
regular people call last week. Yeah, no, I love we'll circle back to something. But yeah, so what were some of the things that made you feel super alive this year?
Last year. Okay, so 2024.
It was a real.
That's true. We don't care. Obviously, like meeting the love of my life was such, honestly, an unexpected pivot. Didn't plan on that. That's a whole nother story for another day. I've talked about that a little bit on the podcast before the rebrand. And honestly, so much for me last year that makes me feel more alive now didn't make me feel more alive in the moment, which was like I was really faced with a lot of hard decisions. And there was a period of, even through falling in love, where I was excavating a lot of like old emotion. And just last year was a big loop closing year. It was my personal 9-year in numerology. I'm not a numerologist. I can't explain a whole lot about what that means. Oh my God, I love that Harriet is texting me right now.
I was literally just need to be like, oh my God, Harriet.
Harriet Jackson is one of my personal clients, and she is like a genius numerologist. But essentially, like a 9-year is like a loop closing year. And I went into it with this like, oh my God, I just came off of one of the best years of my life. January was a rough month, but 2023 was a fucking epic year. It was truly one of the best years of my life, even though the end of it was a little tumultuous with relationships closing out, as you saw and witnessed. That was tough.
Me remembering we're technically in front of an audience, so I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we don't say names. That one?
Yeah. Yeah.
One that we don't even say his name, even if we're not recording.
Literally. The one that I'll start rocking back and forth. Like, but
so coming out of one of the most remarkable years of my life, like I was like, you know what? I'm on like such a high. I've had such good momentum. And even though January was a fucking gnarly healing month, I really thought like I was going to pop back into the year and it was going to be like what 2023 was. And this is one of actually my great lessons, is that when we're trying to go backwards and like grasp something again, I think it actually slows us down in moving forward and also can compromise being able to create something even better. And this year, my intention, and I've learned some hard, gnarly lessons in 2024. This year, my intention is keep my eyes focused forward. And I've learned this lesson before. I just learned it differently. And like my network marketing days, it was like, oh, let me try to get back to where I was, or let me try to get back to this, or let me try to get back to that rank or that income level or that feeling or whatever. And whenever I did that, I just like lost sight of where I was going. And you can't drive and build momentum when you're looking in the rearview mirror.
You can't like drive while you're going like this.
Yeah. And that's what I was doing is I was trying to take a step back to like grasp what I'd had while also simultaneously trying to take a step forward. And it was tough.
I would say I think that would be such a really good thing to focus on because, I mean, what happens in a year, you go through tremendous change, but also like you talked about how it was a big year for loop closing. How would you say that, you gathered the strength to do that in both like personal and business? Because it's a hard thing when, in your brain you're like, okay, let's pivot, and then your feet are just kind of stuck there because you feel like, whether it's fear holding you back or like, you see what you're looking at through rose-colored lenses of like, oh, do I really want to let go of this person? Do I really want to leave this place? Like, how would you say that you found the confidence to do that, or like what helped you close those loops and lose those energetic leaks?
Yeah. First of all, I don't believe in stuckness. We use that word a lot, and I think it creates what we don't want is we don't want to feel how we're feeling. And the feeling we often describe as stuck because it looks like the external world isn't changing. But a farmer would know that if there were seeds underneath the soil, that just because we can't see them yet doesn't mean the seed is stuck. Right?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, I love that. Yeah.
So like knowing that, and I think because I have been I have been working on my level of mastery when it comes to supporting my human body and my understanding of it. And my self-talk is like a level 12 and got even better thanks to 2024. Stay tuned, program coming soon. Who knows when? But like, we'll just plant that little seed right there.
Pop that in there.
Plop that in there. But a couple of things. So pain and suffering are remarkably different experiences. And I believe pain is useful, suffering is less than useless. And pain helps grab our attention and bring it to where it needs to go. We wouldn't want to say, I'm not hurting when our hand is on the stove, right? But remembering that maybe someone didn't tell us ahead of time that the stove was hot over and over and over, and feeling angry and hurt and misled and not protected, that would be suffering, right? And so that was the first piece, is I'm not afraid to feel pain. And when I feel pain is just guiding me to bring my attention to something. So I felt the pain of, oh my gosh, we went 3 days without any sales. What the hell is going? There's some like fear that was coming up. And so I brought my attention to the silence, to the fear. And that's where I started to get this new messaging of like, we had to hold everything because you weren't fucking listening to us. And we needed to take you in a new direction, not just a new direction of the brand, but a new direction of my identity. Because I was operating as Andrea Crowder, the teacher and course creator, when my new identity needed to be the new experience of this identity. I like that better, is that I'm Andrea Crowder, author, speaker, and thought leader. And I needed to correct my posture.
Yeah, it's crazy how when you're entering that new phase of life, how things literally just that aren't meant for you just simply won't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. It's literally like if you're getting in a car that you're not supposed to drive, like it's not gonna turn on, the wheels aren't gonna whatever. Like it's just it literally and people will, you know, what we were just talking about a second ago, they'll be like, well, let me try this something different. Let me look back into the past. Let me look back into the past instead of dealing with the pain. It is a lot of like fear when it comes to feeling that pain, and people don't want to feel that and instead lean away when it's actually so much more incredibly helpful when you lean towards it. Because you help me when sometimes, like, let's say I have a negative sensation in my body or something, and you'll say, okay, we'll lean closer to it. What is it trying to show you? And so by leaning away from it, you think you're like, you know, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and just walking on, but it's like, no, you need to lean into it and see what it's trying to tell you. You need to learn the lesson from it. You're not actually learning if you don't truly feel it. And that can look different in certain ways. Like the pain, you know, you don't have to like cry as every single thing is happening. Like sometimes I feel a whole bunch of emotions and I'm like, I know I need to cry this out, and I'll put on Everything Everywhere All at Once, or like a piece of film, or, you know, media or whatever.
Wait, is that a song? Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, it's a movie.
Oh.
I think I told you about this a little while ago.
I forgot.
It's a really good movie. I can't watch it. I'll cry. Okay. I only pull it out when I need to cry.
Got it. Okay. Tearjerker.
But yeah. But I want to go back to what you were saying about falling in love this year.
Okay.
And we'll loop it into, you know, that personal thing, loop with business of like, how was it trying to go through this large identity shift, both personal and in your business, while also falling in love with this new person as you're rapidly changing?
It was such a clusterfuck of different emotions in the most absolute best way. And there were moments where I'm just like, I didn't really feel myself most of last year. It was like, there was this sensation of like what I know that I'm capable of that I didn't feel like I could grasp all the way. And there is this, I was just talking to some girlfriends at dinner on Friday night, and I was sharing with them, I'm like, I still feel, every time I say I'm like on the other side of this identity shift, I realize I'm like, I'm not. And I'm like, actually, I have no idea how long I'm going to be here. So let's just say like till I die.
Yeah.
But we're always going to be in some sort of like, I'm straddling like an old version of me and a new version of me. And like, I've really adopted the new version quite a bit, but I don't feel like I've grasped her all the way. And I think that that's what I was craving from 2023 is I had fully grasped that iteration of me all the way.
Oh, I see.
And it wasn't even like what that meant for my business, even though it was like a amazing year financially, but it wasn't about that. It was about how I felt. And so I kept feeling like I felt like I was in my magic in 2023. Like in a way that was like the most acclimated, like, you know, those little fireworks that are called snappets and you throw them at the ground and it just pops.
Poppets?
It felt like every idea I just threw at the ground. Yeah, poppets, not snappets. Every idea I threw at the ground and it was like pop. And I was just like, fuck, I am like in it. Like my magic was like alive. And last year, I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, where did my magic go? Not the whole year, but there were moments where I'm like, I couldn't grasp it. And it was really beautiful that this happened in a year where I'm falling in love and getting to know someone at the same time. Because part of me associated my identity with that level of alchemy to where I felt like I wasn't me anymore without it. And that's not the truth. That was me having an experience of like almost instantaneous manifestation that was really rad. And that didn't, not manifesting instantaneously doesn't mean anything about my identity. And it took me a minute to be able to grasp that. And I had this thought so many times where I'm like, this man hasn't even seen me in my full magic. He doesn't even know the alchemist that I am. Like in the way, and what I meant by that is I miss that sensation of instantaneous alchemy because I was in a growth season, not a creation season. And I said in a Legends episode the other day, I said, if you honor the season that you're in, the harvest takes care of itself.
Ours.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And that was like one of my hard lessons in 2024 was I was planting seeds. And there was a little bit where I didn't grasp that that was the season that I was in at first.
Yeah. How would you, I'm trying to like materialize this into words as best as I can, because you were gonna go through these cycles, and you were on top of the world, and then you fell into this part where you're like, oh, I don't quite know what my identity is. And I guess a part of it, my question could be answered by not attaching your skills to who you are as a person.
Yes.
Which like, it's obviously that's extremely integrated in society. He is a painter, she is a whatever they are, whatever. How would you
She's a top coach. And then all of a sudden it was like I'm coaching less and less and less, and all of a sudden I'm writing more and more and more. But I'm still, that doesn't mean my identity is that now I'm an author because I'll publish a book.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's something that I did. It's not who I am. And that was a huge opportunity of mastery that was required of me in 2024. And I don't think that my business was going to recalibrate and start popping off again until I really got that lesson, because I think my identity is going to keep shifting faster and faster than I can even keep up with.
How do you feel about using the word mastery? Because I feel like if you are going through, as a human, a perpetual rebranding, and you're constantly evolving and you're losing that old skin and whatever, like how do you feel about using the word mastery when it's almost slightly a contradiction to the like ever-changing being that we are?
So it depends on how you use it. And so how I'm using it is mastery and being able to grab thoughts, to choose thoughts, to curate thoughts that keep me in my power, because my belief system, looping back to what we were talking about earlier, is like, how was I closing loops and falling in love and doing all the things, and truly was like, even though it was a challenging year, it was one of the most like palpably delicious, savory years of my life too. Like beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like, so I don't know, I would say the level of mastery is being able to acknowledge the condition that I'm in and make peace with it. Grandpa always says, like, make peace with the conditions you're in and then you can improve upon it. And so it was creating peace with the conditions that I'm in, creating a sensation of thought that kept power in my body, and staying connected to my intuition, not needing to judge what was happening externally as if it were right or wrong, creating a deeper sense of safety than I've ever felt in my body. Like, because one of the things that I taught in the most recent iteration of Future Self was that when we feel suffering in our body, not pain, but suffering in our body, that is just showing us where we have distorted lenses on that are not truly who we are. And so that's where I'm looking to create a personal area of mastery. It's within that skill set of being able to locate and cultivate truth, simultaneously taking off distorted lenses, old beliefs, societal stories, genetic belief systems and sensations and experiences that I came into this body with from my lineage, just noticing that anytime there were a moment of suffering, there was an absence of truth. And that is a fucking hard thing to master.
Yes. Somebody put that on a fucking shirt right now. I'm gonna start wearing that. I love that. I think, where would you say in your business, what conditions did you make peace with, and then it just started to grow in a way that you weren't dreaming of? Or like, I know we were talking a little bit about like ads and systems, and like, just talk a little bit more about that, of like, what conditions in your business did you make peace with so that way you could grow upon? And like, you started running a lot more ads this year than I think we've
never done.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I think we actually never we never did, and it was 0. That's what we improved upon.
That's what we improved upon.
That's the number that we grew from. But yeah, how would you say, like, what conditions did you make peace with that helped you, like?
So I had been on this like roll with new ideas going into new products. And all of a sudden it felt like how it felt first was that like my ideas have dried up, my magic dried up. And I'm like, this feels so weird to me because my deep belief system and the thing that I know to be true is I have limitless number of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't create any ideas that were coming to mind because they were lacking life force. They weren't alive yet. And you and I talked about this a ton when I first hired you, and we would have like our morning walks and we would just brainstorm on ideas and talk about different things just to like stir up creativity. And what I thought first was that I'm like, I don't know what feels alive. I don't know where the energy is. And so what I started to do was go on an energetic scavenger hunt. And I said, okay, if the aliveness isn't here where I would normally anticipate it to be, where it's been for the last 2-3 years, where is it? And I noticed actually in October, September-ish, all of a sudden, all I could think about was systems and ads. And 2 months before that, it made me want to throw up. So I've said for years, I'm like, we don't run ads. I'm not saying we never will. I'm just saying that doesn't feel the thing that feels most alive for me to have done. What I realized is that I completed like the first iteration of my program library. Like there'll always be refinement, tweaks, improvements. There'll be new ideas to come. But what I needed to do next was I set this intention for myself. And at the end of 2021 and 2022, I said, I want a business that has longer legs than I do. I want legacy energy. I also want to pause and I want my business to be able to keep running. So the metaphor that I liked for myself was like, if I sit down or someday, I know we don't like to talk about this, but like someday my body won't exist here.
Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear it.
I want this work to still be liberating people. So I want this business, this legacy, this work to have longer legs than I do. And so while we had been setting up systems over time, we had like podcasts going now, we had like some email stuff. We didn't have like true funnels that were creating sales for us. And we didn't have, and nobody was doing selling except for me. So if I stopped selling, the business stopped making money outside of residual income that was coming in. And so let's say I do want to like go dark for a couple of months and I just want to knock out a book. You know, that's more my style versus like slowly writing a book over 18, 24 months. Like that's not how this is going to get done for me. I'm going to sit down and I'm probably going to write it in a week, but I need to tell myself I have 2 months.
Yes.
And then, and for the business, I can't be sitting there worrying about whether the business is going to be making money. So what I love about how this happened is that it proved to me that this more live method works, because it wasn't that the energy or the aliveness left the business and left the ability to make money. The energy and aliveness, ooh, see how I'm getting chills? The energy and the aliveness followed the value. It followed the vision, even when I wasn't thinking about it, because it's so ingrained in what I know, believe, and follow. I could have gone and launched a bunch of other programs. I could have come up with ideas and kept selling, and I could have forced myself to do it, but I wouldn't, because again, not a penny from pressure, only pleasure, and only if it makes me feel more alive. Those, like, if we were to take all of the values of this business and wipe them off the board, except for those two, those would be the ones that like I will die on the hill.
I'll
like,
put it on your tombstone.
You will. We'll have that
Not
design.
A penny from pressure, only pleasure.
And more life. Yeah.
Yep.
So what happened was that automatically the energy got pulled into the thing that would give my business longer legs than I have. And I didn't have to like sit down and strategize it. I didn't have to plan 3 months in advance when that would happen. It was like all of a sudden the only thing that I could think about was strategy and ads. Whereas before that was like made my skin want to crawl. And then I became absolutely obsessed with. So a lot of times we're thinking like, oh, I have to like push myself to get this to get this funnel done or to write these emails. Like there was no pushing. It was like the only thing that I cared about.
Yeah, felt good to do.
Right. It felt so alive, even though it was challenging to me because I was learning new skill sets. I hired my client, Leanne Lopez Mosley, and she supported us through getting all of that transition done. We got it all done in a fucking month.
Big daddy energy.
Big daddy energy. Yes. Yeah, we put all of our resources to it and got it all done in a month. And we started running ads in the background that were making like little $27 offers, that just testing things and seeing what worked and being willing to like fuck it up and lose some money if we lost some money. Turns out we did really well. We had like anywhere between a 6 to a 14x return on those ads that we started with. And now we're getting ready to like launch the Big Daddy funnel.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited about that. You were talking about that and my brain was like, so the only thing you should be thinking about as she's talking about her business growing longer legs is like the house from Baba Yaga. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I was like that entire time I was thinking of that house from Baba. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my God, I know someone knows what I'm talking about, but it's like this tale of
everyone does but me.
Yeah, it's a tale of like Baba Yaga. I think it's a Russian tale of like this house that has legs and she's a witch. Like that's her house.
I love it. Tell the story for people who don't know.
I could be butchering this, but she's like a witch. Her name is Baba Yaga, and she has a house, and her house is like alive and it has legs, and it just like runs through whatever. And there's more to the story that's what I learned from Scooby-Doo. Okay, that's what I learned from Scooby-Doo. I've seen that show a million times. That's the only reason I know what Baba Yaga is. But I was like, and the funnels and my brain was like Baba Yaga and her house, and it's running through the woods, and it's running through the woods, and I was like, oh, shut up. But I had a genius question, or not a genius question, but I was really trying to focus. I was like, don't lose sight of the question. It really feels like I have one eye on you, and the other is like, fuck, what the fuck do I ask? There is a question I had. So that is like a thing that I feel like a lot more people, well, depending on what do you call it? Because I know Miss Harriet Jackson, she has put like it's your launch style.
Launch codes.
So I guess launch codes, yeah. So I guess it depends on your launch code and which of that you have, but there are some people who are, I'm sure some of you may be feeling like, oh, like what you were feeling of, I feel like I should be running my business this way. And some people, like, it works for them to just think of an idea and get out there and sell and launch, and they're the only person launching. But some people are like, that actually seems like, I'm so sorry. I think that's literally my podcast, like, recording, Laura. No. Okay, whatever, that never happened. But just some people are like, oh my God, the idea of doing that sounds like so not alive to me. And so a lot of people, I'm sure, are thinking, what is it? Evergreen. Is that what that's called? To like have, I know things.
God. Yes, if you guys didn't know, Dylan's 19.
Yeah, I'm 19.
We're going to have to tell the story about how you came onto the business too next. Like, ask her a question.
Yeah, don't let me forget that. Because that's so fun. I love talking about that. I actually just passed Sprouts the other day, and I was like, oh my God. But
Sprouts?
That's the grocery store. We'll get into it when I tell the story.
Okay.
But what I was going to ask was like, what do you recommend people to hold on to? Like whether it be a piece of advice or whether it be a quote or something, to just have that be their, I'll call it like a cozy little cardigan that you wear like through the weather, like the storm that you're going through of like changing your business and changing it from constantly selling to slowing it down. Because sometimes when you think of slowing it down and creating those evergreen systems, it's not going to make you as much money as you did the previous year. You know what I mean? 2023, you were throwing those poppets and it was like $100K in a day and, you know, $1 million in a year. And then to go to the next year where you figure, oh, okay, I actually feel more alive if I can set this up. We love passive income. Passive income loves us. So like, I love money and money loves me. Thinking about like saying that in the mirror as a daily affirmation, and then I was thinking about the joke that I made to you earlier.
Okay, so we're listening to Dylan was doing my makeup for the podcast, and we were listening to Disney songs, and then A Whole New World came on, and then you guys know where it says
it's like in the background, like the chorus vocals.
Yeah, chorus vocals where it's like red letter. it uses the word red letter, and we're like, what does that mean? Like, I've never actually stopped to ask. Every moment red letter, that's what she said.
Yeah.
And I was like, are we talking about like the scarlet letter?
You were like, what does red letter mean? And you were Googling it, and I was like, red letter, I only know scarlet letter. Is she calling herself a whore? So then the joke
Yes,
the joke that I made was her in the mirror just like, you're a slut. You're a slut and you know it.
You know it. Morning affirmations. Get it, whore.
You're a slut and you know it. Get out there.
Get out there and make fun.
I'm so glad I did that. That's your morning affirmation. You're a fucking slut who makes $1 million a year. Go get it.
Get it.
Yeah.
Also, don't cry for me. It was still $1 million a year. It's not like we like.
No, I'm not crying for you. I'm crying because my jokes were so funny. But
I was talking to the audience. It's not like
it's just me and you here, so I forget they're there.
Okay.
But yeah. So back to what would you say is there professional podcast for professional people? And as a professional, what would you say to the other professionals? What is your cozy cardigan for people to weather that storm?
Wow. We made it back. I really didn't think we were going to.
We ran a little quick mile. We got our zoomies out and we looped all the way around. Okay.
Great job. Okay, cozy cardigan during the storm. Number one, this concept of holding. Like, I have to be able to hold how I felt in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fear of holding when there's a storm. The idea of anything being held is an illusion. We can't hold any of it.
Talk about that one thing. Yeah.
Well, I don't really want to go there because I want to actually cast an invite.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to finish that story, but I am hosting a masterclass called Better Than I Could Imagine, Better Than I Can Imagine. And that is us setting intentions this year. And there's this concept that I learned from one of my friends. If you guys follow Kate Northrup, she and I were having a spa day and she invited her friend Tracy, and Tracy shows up and she's like, we're all having lunch in our spa robes, like amazing day, except for I should have, like, my thought was I shouldn't go because this was all at the same time. When my sales had halted, I was like, oh my God, I have to stop everything and I have to pay attention to the launch. And I saw the spa day on my calendar and I'm like, I should cancel. Like, I need to focus on the launch. And my intuition was like, absolutely fucking not. You're going to that spa day. So I showed up and Tracy starts talking about this concept of holding that literally radically changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
It changed my experience of public speaking. It changed my experience of like creating things that maybe were exhausting to me before. It changed my experience of, you know how everybody's talking about like, how do I hold more? How do I like grow my capacity to be able to receive more?
Yeah,
how do I
putting your eggs in the basket?
Like hold all of it. How do I hold more strength when I'm suffering? How to, like, it's all an illusion, but I want to explain at a deeper way, helping you really get that will fundamentally change your experience of holding, where you will no longer even try, which will expand your capacity to receive.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to receive that, sign up for the Better Than I Can Imagine free masterclass, but that is coming soon. So check the link in bio on that one. But let's go back to the weathering the storm. Just remembering, like, every season changes.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks sometimes when we're in the dead of winter and we're like shoveling the snow and it's hard and it's exhausting. But we don't sit there and cry and think like we'll never see the sun again. We know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes when we're in a storm, we think it will be like this for forever. And I know you know what that feels like.
Yes.
So it's the remembering that no matter how hard we tried, we actually can't suffer forever. And no matter how hard we try, we actually can't feel this like high, insane, palpable, like electric, euphoric feeling for forever. And honestly, it's not that great for the body for you to be in like that deep state of euphoria all the time, because it can start to translate into a state of stress if you're holding that much like excitement.
If I'm smiling for too long, like my cheeks start to hurt, you know what I mean? Like something little like that, where you're laughing and you're holding that joy, and then your
Mm-hmm.
cheeks start to hurt and you're like, oh, this is actually getting a little painful. Like,
right. And we didn't come here to only experience. Like, we want the gamut of emotions because, you know, like there's moments where, looping back to like why it was the best thing ever to be going through that with Keith when we're getting to know each other, is it created this massive opportunity of healing for me where I actually let myself be held by another person. And I was honest, because you and I had grown up, you're very much like me, and that we think that there's like this nobility to being able to suffer through it on our own and to get through it on our own. And also, we've had the hardest, best lessons, that like depth and connection and the true riches of life are letting someone in and letting them, people that we, using our discernment.
Yes, that's true. Don't have your open door, you know.
No, it's, the door's not open for everyone, but for the right people that that truly have the emotional wherewithal to be able to hold space like Keith can.
Yeah.
I created deeper trust with him because, and look, it wasn't easy, because there was moments where like intuitively my discernment was screaming at me, open your mouth and tell this man that you're hurting. And I did not want to do it the way I gritted my teeth.
When you're sitting there and he's like, what's wrong? And you're like, nothing's wrong. And my boyfriend, my partner, will clock me and be like, I know there's something wrong. Like, speak to me. And then that's a whole other
podcast. We love podcast. Team Joelle.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, the topic of me personally not sharing why I was an entire different subject that would be like too. Yeah. So return to what you're saying.
But you get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think every single person listening gets it, because emotional intimacy is hard, because we've shared things that were emotionally intimate without discernment, with people that didn't have the emotional wherewithal, the emotional intelligence to be able to hold that for us. And so what we learned is if we let someone in and they don't know how to hold that, they'll fumble us and we'll get hurt. And so the lesson that was skewed and flawed was that if we share our, like, the mushy part of our heart, that will cost us. And the reality is that it cost us once with one person, like a childhood friend, or like mom or dad didn't know what was really going on, or like, you know, just stuff when we're young gets like the code gets written in a really, really flawed way a lot of times. And so I had to breathe through it. Like, I noticed that that was actually a sign for me. If I was clenching my teeth, or if my breath was really shallow, like I wasn't letting myself take deep breaths, I knew that it was time for me to open my mouth. And so what I had to do was almost like Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, where it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I would just breathe through it, and then I would hold my breath for a second, and then I would open my mouth and I would say it as fast as I can. I need you. I need help.
Oh, I never thought of
I'm scared. Like, I need to tell you something. Do you have space for me? Like, I had to like open it and say it really fucking fast.
I never thought about doing like that.
Yeah. So
I'm a little Pisces, so I'm just like I'm just like, here's all my emotions. I feel you're like what, like Virgo Sun Taurus rising, so that makes sense why you're like, fuck it, take it. I'm just like, and here we go.
Here's every single emotion I've ever had in my whole life. Welcome to the water.
For like a Scorpio boyfriend who's like, I keep that shit locked up, zipped up, you know, locked down, to a girl who wears her heart on her sleeve and like cries openly, and he's like, you know, do you wanna? I'm like, I don't need advice right now. I need to cry. I need that.
Yeah.
What's like a? I feel like what's a good. Wait, were you gonna continue talking?
No, that was the story.
Okay.
If you notice yourself like shallow breathing, clenching your teeth, like, and you are in a safe space and you know it, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold your breath, and then just say it. Like, I need help. Can you support me? God, those words. Hardest, best words ever.
It's so, why does it literally feel like, oh my gosh, this was literally just yesterday. I was like being open about how something I was feeling with Joelle, and it's like literally feels like it's the best thing I could say. It's like pulling it out of your chest, and like when I'm saying these emotionally vulnerable sentence, sometimes I literally sound strained where I'm like, I think I just am feeling like I feel strained or I sound strained because it's literally me being like like
pulling it.
yes.
This is how it goes in my brain is like, let me think about what's going on with me. I'll figure most of it out for myself. And then I will deliver it to them in like a 5-part series of this is what's happened. This is what I think. This is how I anticipate I should solve it. What do you think?
1A, 1B,
Like,
2Z.
that's not the fucking lesson. I'm like, let me just share with them how I feel at the end, and like there's nothing really left for them to do. And I'm like, no, that's not the fucking lesson. Don't solve this problem yourself. And I would say at 42 I'm much better at this, but it really is about till 41 that I was sucking wind when it came to letting a man in emotionally.
Yeah. I feel like, because like you were talking earlier about, when you're at Powerhouse Women, and when I asked you like when did you discover More Alive, and that was the name of the rebrand, and you're like, I was surrounded by this big group of women, and being around women is like, I love I love women, I love life, I love love. Yeah, like when Lorelai and Dejan were here and we were out there and we were talking about the More Alive rebrand, and you guys didn't even know, and we were talking about everything. I was like, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it so much. So I feel
ideation, the energy, the collective.
When you find those women,
purpose.
Like, it can be really easy. Because I find myself with my best friend, if there's something like I'm feeling that I'm just like, not even if there's, because I don't even say we have like arguments or anything. I'm like open about how I'm feeling about a situation. I'm like open about it because I don't know. I saw this. There's this one. I want to go back to something though. Hold on. Ignore whatever I was just going to say. Yeah. So
cut, delete.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about being afraid to feel. Oh, what was it? Being afraid to feel like fear and pain and feeling that vulnerability and the sadness and stuff like that, and just going through those seasons. And it's you just a second ago, it was the experiencing the emotional rainbow of life, and I'm just like, I think about it in the way of not just it gives us all these different experiences, but like if we were to feel no pain and we were to only experience joy, like I truly believe we wouldn't have the movies that we have. We wouldn't have the books. We wouldn't have the like paintings, the art, the furniture. Because like sometimes, I don't know, I just feel like it dives into every single part, every pain is a part of life, and it's sometimes the most beautiful thing. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen, and it's in.
I clearly have to watch this movie.
I'm not sure if you would love it, but it's just like it's an inherently painful movie. It's built on pain, but it's so beautiful, and I love it so much. Anyways, okay, so did you want to go and talk about what time are we at? Can we see? Oh my god, it's almost 51. Been an hour.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. Did you want to talk about me coming into the company? And that was a fun pivot this year.
Preceded by a tough one.
Yes.
So I think we have to start there.
There was bittersweet. Yeah.
It was bittersweet. Yeah. Bringing you in was like, it was so crazy because I thought it would be for like a month or two. And we've like had so much fun that you're like, oh, a few more years would be fine.
Yeah, I'm like 5 years minimum, right?
No, we have definitely made the best of it. And it doesn't suck to be able to take your daughter out and like write it off as like a business expense.
Exactly. I'm like, so dinner, it's definitely a business one, right? Or
Company
like
charge.
My birthday, but it's I love it.
IRS might be stalking us. Just kidding.
I know. I was like,
all legitimate business purposes.
It is. I promise you, it is.
Okay, so let's start with one of the hardest things as a business owner, as a leader, is to know when to complete things that aren't working anymore.
Yeah,
it's when to like honor the season of completion, and a relationship might be complete. And that is sometimes hard to grasp, because that doesn't mean that the love is gone. That just means that there might be a transition in how you experience a relationship with someone. And so the person who had been in your role for many, many years and was my longest standing person, it was time to complete things. And I had known it for a while, but it didn't feel ready. Like I knew it was coming and I just didn't know when. And so I was really checking in intuitively really frequently. It's like, is this time? Is this time? And it happened really beautifully in that Keith and I were actually having a little bit of like our new couple communication struggle. And he didn't know how to translate my luteal phase yet.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Thank you for teaching me those vocabulary words. That has also been helpful in my relationship.
So he was taking it personally when I wasn't like as lovey-dovey as I normally am.
Yeah.
And thinking that it like meant something about him. And then I was frustrated because I was like, why can't I have an emotion? And can't it just be about me? And like, I was talking to my then coach at the time, Orrin Harris, and Orrin said to me, Andrea, it sounds like you value harmony. And I said, yes. And he goes, harmony can't exist when you're tiptoeing. Because what we're doing is we're tiptoeing around each other, trying not to trigger each other's traumas. We'd both come out of really challenging relationships. And we were like just trying to be really careful. And he's like, when you have carefulness and when you're tiptoeing, there's an absence of truth. And if there's an absence of truth, there's an absence of harmony. And so harmony isn't always around having perfect emotional peace, but harmony means that full and absolute truth exists.
Ooh, I'm going to get that tattooed on me.
So good, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get that tattooed on me.
So as soon as he said the word harmony, I swear it was like the code downloaded in my head. And I was like, this is game changing. So I'm going to share more on that actually also in the Better Than I Can Imagine podcast or masterclass that's coming. Hint, hint, sign up. There's way more to come on
It's literally
harmony.
free. Just sign up. It's literally free.
It's going to be good. It's going to be honey for your heart and electrocution, aliveness for your soul. Like it is going to be a vibe. And also in this moment, I realized like I had a new language and understanding of how I wanted to hold harmony for the company. And I believed for honestly the world and like anybody who wants to be in this work with me. And instantly it was like I saw exactly where there had been fractures in harmony, what needed to happen in order to correct them. I swear it was like the next day I got on with the team and I was like, here's what's happening. I delivered them this expectation, the standard for harmony. I'll share all of that in the masterclass and what I said. And I said, if there is fractures in harmony, it is a non-negotiable that the first thing that we do is we go to restore that. And I said, you guys know that I am not the type of person that says it's this way or the highway, but this is one of those times where it is this way or the highway. Like this is a non-negotiable. The standard will absolutely be fucking held because we don't just hold it for ourselves. We hold it for everyone. And again, because when there's fractures in harmony and it isn't held, that's when we go from pain to suffering. And I was like, I hold the standard for not marinating in our suffering. And so I had noticed some places where that had been occurring slowly over time. And the standard that I set was not upheld. And I had to follow through on my word. And it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. But it was also easy at the same time because I understood that I hold the standard for all. Including this relationship. And so I completed that relationship with a team member. And then I was like unsure as far as what was going to happen next. And you were not so happy in your restaurant job.
I just came back and I tried to, what we were just talking about, I tried to enter an old way of how I used to make money. And then while I was in it, I was like, this literally doesn't feel right for me. It literally, it felt like, this is the way I explained it, was that I was in my own show and that job felt like I was guest starring in a different show. It just didn't feel like it was truly a part of my life. I know it was supposed to be a part of my life. I'm really grateful for it. And my manager who got me that job was from a previous job and I love her so much and I loved working with her. But I was also like, I also know that this job is not, it's not how I'm supposed to make money after coming back from this thing. And it just didn't feel quite aligned. It was it was useful. It made me money, but I was also like, I know I'm supposed to be in what I call like this big girl, um, like almost office job, like not quite an office job, but I knew it
That's
was like
kind of what you described it to me. You're like, oh, I think I'm gonna get like
corporate girl, like
corporate girl. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So just that kind of vibes of like well organized system, like administrative slightly type of role. And I was like, I know that it's what I'm entering, and I know that it's like, a job typically meant for someone older than me and quote unquote more qualified than me, which like yes, someone would be more qualified than me, but I'm also like I know I can learn and do it. But I just knew that's was where I was going, and then I was applying to jobs like that or jobs I thought were like that, and they were like, "Want to work in marketing? JK, you're gonna go like stand on the side of the street with a sign, and that's our marketing position for you." And I was like,
has anybody ever applied for one of those? I knew what was happening when I saw it, and I was like, oh, we'll see how
you
this
literally
plays out.
clocked it. You were like, "I know what that is," and I said,
Yeah,
"Well, no,
it's a
I
scam.
think yeah,
Mhm.
it's not."
It's not a real job.
Anyways, yeah. So I was like, I know I'm coming into this. I know that's what's next for me and in my career. Like, I just don't know what it quite was. And then I started doing stuff for you around the house to just help out of like what was being done as kind of like a house manager. Yes, I lived here, but it was stuff like putting your clothes away, doing your laundry, like organizing your bathroom, just keeping
She's not an indentured servant, guys. She's played well, by the way.
Oh, I'm paid very well. um, and so then I started to slowly come in with that, and I talked to my boyfriend, and I was like, I don't know if I'm meant to stay at this restaurant job that I'm at. I hope I didn't say the name of the restaurant
You
because
didn't.
like okay, I was like, not that it's bad if I did, but I just don't want to.
No free press.
Exactly. I love them. We actually need to go to the dinner. What are you doing tonight? We'll think about that later.
We have a plan.
Um, but I was talking to my partner and I was like, I what if I went to go work for my mom full time as like I just didn't know what it was because the role that I'm currently working was filled and like I couldn't think of a role that I would go into.
By the way, I had no idea she was talking about this with
Yes,
Joelle.
this was literally like a week or two before you
Yeah.
asked me. I was like, that would be so fun and so cool, and I love it. It would be wonderful.
Which is crazy because I thought that you were going to be like, because you've never really been interested in my
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
Like you would come with me on the photo shoots and you would do like makeup and creative stuff, but you've never really been interested in like the teaching brand.
No. And like even if God forbid you pass away, which you're not allowed to, you never will, you're immortal. Like I probably wouldn't do the teaching that you do, but I would still have that running because I know that deeply that you want the world to know what you teach and stuff like that. So I'd have that running, but exactly like that. I'd be on the sidelines and I'd have it run. But so I was talking about this and I was like, oh, that would be amazing. Like to, work with you full time. I don't know what it would look like, but that would be great. And then I'm literally with my partner at Sprouts. That's why I was talking about Sprouts because that's where you called me. I had just grabbed sushi and I was checking out and she called me. I'm so sorry. My nose keeps itching. I think I have one fuzz from the blanket that's just like slightly in my nose and it's like, hey girl, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. It's not the time. But you called me. You called me and
We're not clipping that, by the way.
Okay, great. Joelle, please, please. So you called me and I knew what it was as soon as you called me. I knew exactly what it was because I think you called me.
I didn't even finish the sentence and I was like, hey, so I've been thinking and you go, she stops me right there and she goes, yes, I want to work for you.
Literally, because you go, how I was thinking like I know you've been not very happy with your restaurant job and I was like, if it's what I think it is because I was literally just talking to Joel about working for you full time, then yes. And you're like
finished my sentence. Fucking Pisces kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're telepathically linked. Like, they literally saw it earlier. I was like, you should tell that one story. And you're like, well, we'll telepathically linked. But then and then ever since then, it just flowed.
It flowed perfectly. You were meant for this role in this season. 100%. It's been better than we could have imagined. Like, I really thought it was going to be. I said, like, just be a temporary basis. And we set intentions first. We're like, this relationship is priority. So if it creates any friction in our relationship, we complete it.
Pinky promised that.
Yeah, we pinky promised it. Yeah. And so because it is scary to think about like bringing in one of your family members and have that fear of like, what if this goes south and what if it creates conflict?
And such a critical role as like assistant.
Right.
As well.
Yes.
A lot.
So, and you coming in, like, I didn't even realize like how many leaks there had been there. You have found areas in this company where I would have never gone to look and suspect that like this over here had not been done anymore or hadn't been working. And so like your just willingness, like I've done very few days of actual training with you. Your willingness to come in and like be hungry to learn and figure things out and has been like the best. Like I couldn't have imagined that it was going to be this good, to the point where it's annoying because I tell everyone how great you are and then everyone is like trying to poach you.
Everybody, you guys, it makes my self-confidence like grow. Like my ego since starting this job, I'm not gonna lie to you, it has been much larger than it was before.
Walking through doors has gotten challenging. Yeah. Like even my wealth manager is like, we love her.
Everybody, I'm like, guys, oh my god,
can Dylan come work for us? Keith is trying to steal you.
I was like, take my boyfriend, he's right there. But it makes me feel flattered. But yeah, it's just like, it's so, I don't know what it was, but literally, well, I know what it was, but coming back from living in Paris for like that time, and then just something shifted where I came back and it was like something in our relationship dynamic had just, whatever, like a little bit of, I don't even know how to describe it, of like if there was a little bit of mud on the floor, I came back and it was white, clean, spotless, and now we're dancing all over it and we're having so much fun. I'm like,
what a metaphor.
I thought of that and I was like, yes. You've had so many good ones the whole podcast. It's my turn. I get to have a couple. It's just been like
bar.
Thank you. Bars, yeah. It's just been so much, it's felt so good to learn, and like, oh, my Capricorn Mars is just like, yes. Especially in this Capricorn season. I probably did cleaning around the house for like 9 hours this weekend. Like I'm in it. You're in the thick of it.
Capricorn season. Let's go. No, it has been fun. And okay, so let's loop back and we'll close it out here with the pain that initiated shift created better than could have imagined experiences. Because I truly thought like you would come in and you would enjoy parts of it. I had no idea that you were gonna, like, your talent from what I've seen so far is more in the creative side. And so you've always been good at supporting people, like your ability to like know what's going on with people emotionally. You've been like that since you were 3. It was like freaky. I'm like, where the fuck in the universe did this kid come from? You've always asked the most inquisitive questions. You guys, 10 out of 10, Dylan is the better coach, by the way. Like, package coming soon. No, like whenever I'm stuck, I call her and I'm like, ask me questions. And she's like, got it. And she's just like goes in and like, even with marketing, I'm like, I need like ideas about this. And you're like, okay, well, have you thought about this? And who's your customer? And this is like, I never trained you in any of this. It's just, I don't know if it was osmosis from you just being in my world for so long.
Well, also like, hello, you're my mother.
Your whole life. But it has come really, really naturally to you. And so, yeah, looping back, it's just been like, it went through that season of noticing where there was pain, dealing with it, not even just dealing with it, like nurturing that like piece of me that needed attention, and then like digging further, planting new seeds. And now we are really like watching those seeds grow. Like it is very, very special what has started to occur within the team dynamics and holding that standard for harmony. Again, it's like it's not the absence of peace, but it's the absence of truth that creates disharmony. And that one piece has really, really radically changed. We thought we had like the best business ever. We thought we had the best business culture ever. It's better now. Like I couldn't have dreamed it up.
It's better than you could imagine.
Better than I could imagine.
Perhaps
drop.
That's crazy. Was it perhaps legendary as well?
Perhaps. We didn't even get into legends, but that's okay. Like we'll just say like nuts that as I was being guided to take on less private clients last year so I could work on the systems and the ads and stuff, Legends actually completely replaced that income.
Yeah.
Nuts.
I
Like
love
this
Legends.
silly little idea that I had at the beginning of last year became over $150,000 residual income last year that will grow. I'm sure it'll be like 300K this year and so on. It's like a limitless creation, a $59 product, a $59 a month subscription product that is like, I mean, legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary life, love, and business. I talk everything. I talk about you and I talk about Keith, and Dylan knows all of it because she
I do
handles the
transcriptions. Yeah.
This, okay, PS, like pro tip for moms, because you know how we have all of this wisdom in our head and our children don't want to hear it. If
Oh my gosh.
perhaps you could record some of it and then pay your children to handle the transcriptions, you could be downloading it by osmosis and them getting paid for it. And then it's not them like rolling their eyes anymore. So now sometimes I think about you and I'm like, what do I want to teach Dylan this week?
Oh my God. Do you really? Oh, I thought you were going to be like, oh yeah, and make sure, you know, I thought you were going to talk about how like some episodes I don't transcribe and don't listen to because I don't want to hear about like.
If I'm talking about me and Keith and it's like,
yeah, I'm like,
more
don't want to hear
intimate
that.
stuff. No, I'm actually joking about that. All of them are like purely channeled and it's just whatever comes through. But it has been like a side benefit because one of my fears as a mom is I have collected all of this wisdom over the years and I intentionally teach it to my audience because that's what they ask of me and that's my job. But then as you guys turned 18, 19, Jackson's now 21, he's going on 22 this year, you're about to turn 20. I had this huge fear when all of a sudden you guys became old enough to like move to Paris. And I'm like, oh my God, did I teach them everything that I know? I know that some of it's not like you guys signed up for master classes though, where I was giving you like whole lessons and I just freaked. Like I had a mom freak where I'm like, did I do a good enough job? Did I prepare you guys? Did I like teach you the things that you're really going to need to know? And so it has been like a deep side benefit where now that you're transcribing legends, it does appease a bit of that, that mom need inside of me. I'm like, okay, I got a little bit more in before she goes off and she does her own thing.
You're never going to be able to fully teach every single thing you know, but it's also like I am almost 20, so it's been 2 decades of learning from you and hearing you and like internalizing the lessons I learned from you. So.
Okay.
And
What's been the best lesson? We'll end with that.
What has been Joel, you're gonna have to cut like the 5 minutes of me being like,
Nothing.
No, there's like so many that I'm like,
cricket.
I've had so much shit happen. I literally was just talking to Joelle about this earlier. It's so weird, guys. My boyfriend's name is Joelle, and then also our podcast editor and just podcast person is also named. Her name is Joelle. There's so many. I literally was just thinking about it earlier. Ooh, you know what's really been recent? I'll do the one that's been the most recent. Is even though it seems like such a like duh thing, but to truly sit with yourself and be like, if I did this thing, how would I feel after? You know what I mean? Like, if I am like, oh, I want Sonic, I want a cheeseburger from Sonic, I have to think, after I have that cheeseburger, am I gonna feel guilty for spending the money? And like, I didn't really even want that cheeseburger anyways. And I have to truly sit with myself because I'm like, I want to get better at managing my money and not just like going to eat all the time. But it's like I have to actually start that somewhere. And my small step is literally just stepping back and being like, after I eat this, after I do this, am I gonna feel guilty about it? Am I not gonna feel good about it? Or am I gonna be like, oh my gosh, that food was so good. I'm so happy I went out and did that. I'm so happy I did this. And then literally saving like hundreds of dollars of just being like, am I gonna not feel good after that? So it saves me feeling the guilt and like the bad, well, for lack of better words, because
remorse, regret.
Yes, yeah. So like feeling that afterwards.
Blah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
I'm
word.
like, yeah. Yeah, that of like
Okay, then if that's the biggest lesson.
No, that's the most recent one.
Okay. You have to defend yourself. You're not on trial.
Okay.
No, that actually, truly, if that's all you ever learned from me, that would be enough. I would be satisfied with that. That would change your life. That I would know that I did, like, I feel good as a mom. Thank you. I needed to hear that.
It's like, it's multiple things in one, like slowing down, checking in with yourself, and checking your intuition and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but the most recent one is that one.
Yeah, because otherwise you're literally buying guilt.
Exactly.
And a stomach ache.
Doesn't feel good.
Yeah, most people, first bite energy versus last bite energy, as I call it.
Yeah, that was Legends episode, blah, blah, blah. I did transcribe that episode. I did, bro. Okay.
Transmission complete?
Yeah. Transmission.
Say it.
Transmission complete. Love you, Legends. Or, wait. Love you guys. Go be legendary.
That is it.
Whatever legends are watching this
My
podcast.
work is done. Oh my God. If you guys loved this episode and you want Dylan back, blow up the DMs because she will read them. So Dylan is in our DMs. She helps us customer service support. So send her a message and tell her anything that's true and authentic of something that you got from her, something that you got from me from this episode. And we'll make sure to share that with the rest of the community, let them know why they should listen. We really appreciate it. Honestly, it just makes us feel good. And we'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys have questions or you guys have episode requests, you guys, there's also link in show notes. There's a way to record a voicemail where you guys can ask a question, just like you're calling a friend, you're leaving a message on their answering machine, their voicemail, like whatever. Wow, answering machine just came out. That's a Jeff Conte thing. Nobody knows what that is anymore.
Answering machine? Okay, hello. We'll get into it later.
Okay. Wait, is that like a new slang?
Answering machine? No, that's just what it's called.
A voicemail.
A voicemail answering machine?
You know what that is?
Yes, Mimo, I know what that is. Jesus.
Okay, so you guys can leave a message and we can use that and take that as a recommendation for a future episode. Thank you guys for listening to the More Alive podcast. Please go ahead and comment and review on this podcast. Share it with a friend. And we love you and appreciate you. Go be. What do we have for this one?
Love you. Oh, fuck.
What's our new signature?
Go feel more alive. We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop.
Yeah. Well, for now, sign up for the what the fuck? The Better Than I Could Imagine free masterclass. That shit is literally free. Go fucking sign up. I'm watching you. Go sign up for it. Yeah.
All right, and we'll see you on the next More Alive podcast.
Okay.
Bye.